It's estimated as many as 1 in 7 Australians are taking antidepressants. There is a growing push from doctors here in Australia and the UK to rethink those dispensing rates and also ways of safely taking people off those medications. UK-based Australian psychiatrist Mark Horowitz is the co-author of a new clinical handbook on how to safely taper the use of these powerful drugs. He joins us now from London. Dr. Horowitz, good morning to you.
Thanks. Good to be here, Michael.
How have we in Australia got to the point where antidepressants are so overprescribed?
Look, every year there are more and more antidepressants prescribed. We also know that people are staying on these drugs longer and longer. And one of the reasons that happens is because there's very little knowledge on how to safely stop them. So people often stop them very quickly. That gives rise to withdrawal effects like low mood, anxiety, panic attacks. People mistake that for a return of people's conditions and they're put back on the medication. So it becomes a bit of a revolving door where people are stuck on these medications long term. And a lot of social problems in people's lives, poverty, relationship difficulties, work issues, are being medicalized in our society more and more. And so they've taken on the idea that there's a pill for every ill, and that's led to some of the highest prescribing rates in the world in Australia for antidepressants and other psychiatric drugs.
If you don't mind me asking, you've had your own personal experience with coming off these drugs. Can you tell us about your experience?
Exactly. I mean, I wasn't taught about the trouble you can have coming off antidepressants in medical school. I went to UNSW, or in my psychiatry training I did at Prince of Wales and in the UK. It wasn't until I tried to come off Lexapro, escitalopram, a very common antidepressant that I've been on for 15 years, that I experienced firsthand trouble sleeping, panic attacks, terror, things that were much, much worse than the issues that had put me on the drug as an unhappy medical student. It was frightening, the most frightening experience of my life. And in the end, I had to go back on the medication in order to resolve those withdrawal effects. And at that point, I realized I was taking the medication not because it was helpful to me, but because I was dependent on it. And without it, I had these horrible withdrawal effects. And that was what triggered me to start looking at this as my area of research and practice. And that's led to me putting together these guidelines, the Maudsley deprescribing guidelines.
And those guidelines are in this new book you've co-authored, Mark. So what is the aim here? Is it basically a step-by-step guide for GPs and, for that matter, people on antidepressants as to how to safely taper off those drugs?
Look, exactly. There are dozens of books on how to start these drugs, but there's no authoritative guidance on how to stop them. So we've set out, me and Professor Taylor, a British psychopharmacologist, have set out to provide exactly as you say, step-by-step guidance, how to go either slowly, moderately slowly, or quickly off all commonly used antidepressants, benzodiazepines, Z drugs, and gabapentinoids, aimed at GPs, aimed at psychiatrists, pharmacists, anybody involved in the care of people with mental health conditions. And we also think it may be useful to the public who are on these medications to use with their doctors, even to give to their doctors. So there's some guidance, and it's guidance that helps people to adjust the rate to the rate they can tolerate. And it gives very detailed guidelines so that people know what to do at every step in the process.
Very interesting indeed, Mark Horowitz. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for telling us your personal experience as well.
Thanks, Michael.
And of course, if this segment has raised any concerns for you, please speak to your doctor. Support is also available from Beyond Blue or by calling Lifeline, the number 13 11 14.